So I'm going to give you a list of things, and then we're going to discuss when they came into being. So for instance, spaghetti. Modern spaghetti, like Italian spaghetti. Attested in the 5th century, so the 400s, but we have like recipes and such from about the 12th century in Sicily. It's about 800 years old for modern spaghetti. What about the mirror? Anyone have any guesses when like mirrors were attested?
5000 BC.
200.
5000 BC to 6000 BC. Yeah, in Anatolia, polished obsidian. We don't get the flat glass mirrors because they weren't able to make flat glass until about the Middle Ages in Germany. All right, the automobile.
1887.
Awesome guess. We have an attestation of a model built by a Jesuit missionary in China from 1672. Wasn't a full-size vehicle, but that was 21 years before the Salem witch trials. Remember from last night, 1693, when we were playing Werewolf? But the first steam-powered vehicle that someone could ride on, 1769, before the American Civil War. And that happened in France, a tricycle. All right, what about the saddle? And I'm talking specifically about a saddle and a horse that has rigidity. It sits in the 4 corners of the horse's back.
800 BC.
Close, 200 BC. So the Han Dynasty, and we have models and schematics for saddles from 100 BC, so like the height of the Roman Empire during the times of Caesar and whatnot. All right, chess, the game of chess.
2nd century.
Later, much later, 800 years later. So the 10th century was introduced into Spain and Italy by the Moors, and it wasn't until about the late 1400s when the modern rules of movement were established. So it's only about a 500-year-old game as we know it today. But there are versions of the game that go back way back in time. What about a belt that we wear today?
330 BC. 1840.
Yeah, so the modern belt that holds up pants is really quite new, and you don't really get pants with belt loops until the 1800s. Before that, they were just sort of decorative, or they weren't meant to hold up your pants. All right, cheese.
1600s?
Older, much older.
Much older.
2000 BC.
Much older. So we have attestation of a cheese recipe that was found in Krakow, Poland, from 5500 BC, but there's actually no known earliest date of cheese. It just predates all of our records.
So does that mean that cow's milk has just kind of also always been a thing because it's part of what you make is good?
Yeah.
Because nobody really knows why we started doing the whole cow thing.
Yeah, that's why
You're
it's
hungry and you
just
saw
like
somebody
pizza.
drinking milk.
Right.
There you go. It's like,
This is true.
eat it.
All right, and beer. This is one of my favorites.
Beer.
Monks.
10,000 BC.
Christian monks.
Pretty much. Yeah.
What?
So there is evidence of a beer trough. This was a giant stone that the Neolithic peoples, 10,000 BC, 950 or 9,500 BC, had carved out. And the reason that we know that the scientists, the archaeologists, figured out that this was beer is they were excavating the site, this giant trough in the ground. They didn't quite know what it did, and then they went out that night to a pub to discuss it. And as they were drinking the beer, they were like, they carved that out to make beer, and that's how they came up with that theory.
By the way, when we say BC, we mean before coding, right?
Yes. Exactly, like World War II-ish, right? All right, let's get another fun one in here. Computers for this crowd. This one, I think it's a little fudgy.
1870s. Yeah, define a computer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A general computing machine.
Yeah,
Is it
about
electric or-
1870s.
Doesn't have to be.
Like a Jacquard loom.
Jacquard card loom. Everyone's thinking Babbage, right?
Well, it never worked. So,
There was a loom that was actually, I don't know if that means they're general computing or not, but.
No, so
like a processor did.
that predated Babbage's analytic engine, but Babbage never built that. It was his son, Henry Babbage, who builds the first model of the analytic machine in the 1880s. And he gave a successful demonstration in 1906, but it's soon after that we moved to like digital computer. or
When did
not digital,
IBM
analog.
first started doing their stuff?
IBM? It's a 100-year-old company, 120 years.
Okay.
So right around that time.
Yeah, but they weren't. I mean, because all their card processing stuff, that wasn't like general computing.
Yeah, I don't know the exact history of that.
Okay.
What about a pencil? The modern pencil with graphite inside of a wood casing.
1737.
Earlier, 1500s. So 1560, Italian couple named Simonio and Lindiana Bernacotti had blueprints for like the first pencil where they, instead of drilling out a piece of wood, they came up with the idea of cutting two pieces of wood in half and gluing them together in the graphite.
All right. You want one more or?
One more, the taxi. The modern Hackney carriage.
1720.
543 BC.
I was thinking too there would be some thing, but the modern sort of Hackney carriage that we know today as a taxi was introduced in Paris and London in like the 17th century, 1600s. I think they were steam powered. At that point.